Frank,
Hello.
how's it going, man? Thanks so much. How you been?
I'm doing good. Who am I speaking with? Clint?
You got Clint and my partner Noah here.
Oh, hi, Noah.
Hey,
Well,
Frank.
What's
Well,
happening, brother?
Hey, it's great. I see your Make America Great Again sign back there. What you're outspoken,
Exactly.
man. Frank.Stallone on Instagram. What's it like being in California? Kind of not necessarily the mindset shared by many of your brethren out there. What's it
Well,
like?
there's a lot more rock musicians than you think that like Trump, like Kid Rock. There's a few out there, uh, uh, Post Malone, guys like that. Well, being a professional musician since 1965, I've always been, I grew up in that era, but I've always been conservative. I wasn't like a snob, so I'm liberal on some things. But as far as the times we live in, I just think he's the right guy for the job. That's all. I just think it's gotten so crazy, and I just love the idea that he sticks it to China, and he's just, I worked for him. I used to play his casinos in Atlantic City. He was great.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was great.
What have the last few months been like, man? It's been crazy, like you said.
Well,
but
yeah.
I know you play a lot of shows out there in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and you've probably had some postponed. I think you have some again
Oh.
starting in October.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. The last time I've done a live gig was in January.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So in February, I just wasn't booked in February. And then we were going to start up in March. And then this came in and it just, killed us. Killed everything. I mean, basically, that's kind of what of course you like this. John Wayne 2020. Gotta love that.
I just visited his hometown, his birthplace up here in Iowa is about 3 hours north of us here in Kansas City. I just visited that, and it's
He's great, man. I mean, he's one of my favorites, and I just don't like the way he's being maligned. I mean, I don't think we can be held accountable for everything we've said in our life because we've all said things. We've all done things. I mean, it's 50 years ago.
Yeah, I sure hope not.
I got Louis Farrakhan, like now, just saying horrible things about different people from different walks of life. You know what I mean? We're just not perfect. Perfect people, never perfect people, only perfect moments, right, Clint?
So cancel culture, not necessarily your thing. I'll tell you what they did do is they did put when I went up there, they have the John Wayne statue up there by his home, and somebody put a mask on him. Can you believe that? I couldn't take a picture of it.
Rocky statue too.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know which one offends me more.
Well, my brother was very upset. He goes, they might take my statue down. I beat 3 black guys and a communist, so they might take my statue down. So what am I going to do? But it's gotten so out of control. I mean, and how do I survive? I have my own friends. I pick my friends, Noah. I'm a competitive shooter. I've always been a shooter, archery, guns. I've hunted. And I just do my own thing. I don't really encroach on anyone else's thing. They can do whatever they want. And that to me is the American way. The American way, I am not, people go, well, some of your posts are radical. I said, I don't think so at all. I think burning down people's businesses and pulling guys out of cars and beating up women, that to me is pretty radical. I think being patriotic and loving your country and respecting the office of the president and other people, I think that's pretty normal,
Well, you also just turned 70, so happy
70.
belated on that, man. How's 70 feeling so far?
It's a very weird situation. So I'm a 70-year-old and a 38-year-old brain and body, so it's weird. So it's like
that's not bad.
It's a Dorian Gray vibe, So it was really weird. I told Sly, I said, "Man, I'm just having a hard time with this." He goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." And I didn't. I was at my birthday party. I didn't even know how old I was, so it was great. It's listen, I mean, when I was coming up in music, I turned professional in 65. So when I was coming up, I mean, basically when you're at 26, 27, you're kind of long in the tooth for rock and roll, and now I mean, because in the era of the Frankie Avalons and during that time, at 27, you were done. A lot of acts were done. So, but now when you look at the Rolling Stones, it's in their late 70s and they're doing it right. And I went there, I posted something, and I wanted all these musicians and kids to know. I said, if you want to see how it's done right, go to a Stones concert. Now you'll see how it's done right. It's really amazing when you see them. They don't really curse on stage that much. They'll go like, "Oh, right, mate." Yeah. But they're not really vulgar. It's rock and roll, man. I don't think U2 is either. I think U2 is like political. The Stones aren't really political, you know what I mean? But they just are so good. You know, it's like 2 hours of hit records.
Were you and Sly, growing up, were you guys kind of always on the creative side, like always, listening to music and kind of what was it like for you guys?
I think personally, and he'll tell you too, I think I discovered mine before him. I mean, I started singing at 6, so I mean, that's all I ever wanted to do. Okay, at 6 years old, I see Elvis on TV and I flip out. I'm at 6 years old. I go, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is where I'm going. Okay, so that's seeds planted. And then when I saw the Beatles, I knew it, game over. That was it. My parents looked, they go, we've lost him forever. That's it. I didn't want to be a fireman. I didn't want to be a cop. I didn't want to be anything, even though respectful jobs, and I respect them immensely. But I always wanted to be a rock musician. I wanted to be the Beatles or Elvis, period. And you'll speak to a lot of musicians from my era, and that's kind of what they wanted to be. They either wanted to be Elvis or the Beatles, and so that's what I did. I mean, I honest to God, and I mean this, I swear this is true. When I was a kid, when I would go to bed at night, I swear I would dream about guitars that I wanted to get. That's why I have so many guitars, because these are the guitars I couldn't get, and now I got them, and I don't use them. So, I mean, what am I going to do? I just play, basically, mostly Les Pauls are my own guitars from Frank Stallone guitars, So, yeah, it's just something in you. It's like a lot of these athletes, they showed all those traits of that when they were like 6, So.
Absolutely. And you've done things your own way. You mentioned a little bit ago, doing things your own way.
Yeah.
And so we got to talk about your documentary that's going to be coming out. Stallone, man. Frank, that is, post-production. Tell us a little bit more about that project.
Well, no, it is done. We're looking at Amazon in January, Amazon Prime. It's been a long haul. It's really interesting. I mean, again, I'm not a monster. I'm just conservative. I'm not like a psycho killer, So a lot of these, I'm sure a lot of these film festivals saw it. And, well, oh God, that's Frank Stallone. I don't see that. But we did win 5 Best Feature Film Documentaries. We won Garden State. We won Beverly Hills. We won New York. We won, all these things like that. I got to tell you something. I mean, and I'm not one. These guys came to me and said, listen, we want to do a documentary on you. And I go, really? I can't even get a job. What the hell do you want to do a documentary on me for? So they did it, 2 young guys. And all I did was say, hey, these are people that are my friends. You can ask them. I can't promise anything. We'll ask them. Everyone said yes, except 2 people, which I will leave nameless, that I'm pretty upset about. Okay. Well, and it was unbelievable. We ended up with, John Oates, Richie Sambora, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, my brothers all through it, Arnold, Danny Aiello, Frankie Avalon, Geraldo Rivera, about 40 people, wow. Talia Shire, Billy Zane, and, just a lot of people. And I said, the most important thing to me in this documentary is the guys I started out with in 1965, my first band, because that's where it starts. That's Inception. That's the whole thing. And I hadn't seen some of these guys seriously, and I'm not proud of it. I hadn't seen them in 50 years, some guys, since I left, so it was beautiful. So all of a sudden they're doing it, and they're just doing these interviews, and they're traveling all over the country. Danny Aiello, Joe Mantegna, it's just a lot of people. So all of a sudden we get to this thing, and they said, listen, we'd like you to come to a theater in Beverly Hills. We'll show you the rough cut. Now, of course, I've done some good movies, but I've done some really bad movies too. I'll admit. So my kind of radar was up. I said, oh boy, this could be. So I have my legal pad. I'm ready to redline the shit out of this thing. Nah, forget that. Can't. Okay, so I sit there with David Palomeni, who's one of the producers who I brought in on the thing, and was, he was the best. And I sat there. They started. Now, it was without music. It's a kind of a rough cut. It's assembled pretty good. So next thing I know, I'm watching this thing, and I swear to God, I'm totally engrossed in the whole thing. It's emotional. It's not even me anymore. I'm watching the people. It's kind of like I took myself out of my own body,
right,
watching another documentary. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes because, you know, you don't really know, you know, listen, I come from a different era. Now everyone hugging, hey, man. I came from a different era. Guys, you know, went off the war. See you, son, shake your hand. You know what I mean? They weren't huggy. So you never really knew what people thought about you other than, hey, Frank's my buddy, you know, stuff like this. And I got to tell you, I was extremely moved because I was not there for any of the interviews. I didn't want to be. I just wanted it honest. And some of the things these people said about me were just so wonderful, saying, well, you know, Frank was serious in this. You know, this is what he wanted. We were there, you know, to get chicks. We were like 15 years old. And so the documentary came out, and I got to tell you something. So here's the test. So I said, okay, we got to go over Sly's house in this theater and run this thing. And I'm there. Oh, Christ. Okay, I got to do it. I mean, he's in the movie. But I want him to really like this movie because I need him. I mean, you know, if they interview him, then I want to say, yeah, my brother's movie sucks. So I don't want that. You know, I want him to like it. He's over there. So it's Sly, Jennifer, the director, Derek, Chris, and the kids. Yeah, there's 3 beautiful daughters. They have their own podcast now. And we're watching it. All of a sudden, I'm hearing giggles and laughing. My brother's like laughing, watching. I'm there. Oh, good. Now, the director's sitting next to him. I'm sitting back here. And I hear my brother go, I said, now I know we're good. Now I know we're good. Because they don't like anything. If he's talking, because he's a director himself.
Yeah.
And Derek idolizes Sly. So you know, I'm there. Oh, God, he likes it. At the end, he goes, that thing's really good, man. But what he was doing was giving constructive criticism to Derek, like, you know, maybe you can tighten this up a little bit. And Derek, you know, was taking notes, and he did follow. And the girls were laughing. They had fun because it is fun. I mean, it's a funny documentary in a lot of ways. And believe it or not, there's no cursing in the whole documentary. Now, I didn't plan it that way. I'm the only one that curses because I got screwed out of my Oscar nomination. So that's the only curse word in the whole documentary is me. And it's one word, you know.
That's exciting, Frank. We're excited for you. We're going to be on the lookout for that for sure. We'll help promote that when we hear about that coming out in different spots. Yeah.
I want that. I want, you know, this is just the beginning. Hopefully when it comes out, we'll do an interview because it's going to be on Amazon Prime. We're going to do a lot of press. And I think, guys, people are going to be pretty excited about it because everyone's told my life story but me, which is kind of interesting. You know, I mean, I've heard everything in the news from this. Oh, well, Frank is this. I said, you don't even know anything about me. This is not really so much me. It's other people telling the story about me, which makes it beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to that because the whole kind of mantra of the film is being not overlooked, but in other words, being taken for granted. That's Rocky's brother. He possibly couldn't play guitar. Okay. I mean, so it's all that stuff. So I understand more than anybody that can happen. People go, well, how dare someone, you know, be in show business? I said, well, it's like horse racing. So if you have a great secretariat and you breed secretariat to a mare, and all of a sudden there's this gelding or stud or mare wins the Kentucky Derby, you're going to go, oh, that's impossible. It's secretariat. It's kid. You can't. It's genetics. It's in the genes. So, I mean, you know, so my brother and I, we come from the same gene pools. So it's very possible. I mean, there's, you know, look at Tiki Barber and his brother, you know, unbelievable football players when you cancel one guy out. So that's really, really wonderful. And I feel great about it because, again, this is what happens. When I did Staying Alive, I said, okay, all my troubles are over. This is great. Nominated for Golden Globe, a Grammy, Tina Turner saying, hey, I want you to write some songs, everything. Go to premiere. My name's all over the place. Like 9 songs I wrote. And I'm in the movie by accident. But anyway, I'm still in it, right? And then after that, man, it's the business is just, some people just don't want to give it up. And it was just really weird. And then I kind of had to start all over again. It's amazing. It's amazing. And so the movie a lot is about resilience, belief in yourself. Because I say that, I said, if you cannot look in the mirror and be honest with yourself, say, do I have what it takes to go on stage with Springsteen, Jagger, anybody like that, And I said, yeah, of course I would. I've been on stage for 55 years. It's like, I'm more comfortable on stage than I am on the ground. So, but I said, if you don't have that confidence, just like when I used to talk to Sugar Ray Leonard, I said, what did you think? He goes, I thought I could beat anybody. Mm. And that's what it was. I never went into a fight thinking I'm going to lose. Win the fight, so I'm just going to kick his ass. And you have to have that. I mean, a lot of people do. And there's a lot of people with not that great of a talent, but they have a great drive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And from that present day project and your documentary, we're going to go back a little bit here. We all know the story that Sly was just fighting to get Rocky made, and he was bound and determined to play that part and that character. So how did it all come about that you were actually able to be a part of the film and perform the song Take Me Back?
Okay. Getting back to Rocky briefly, everyone wanted the script, but they didn't want him.
Right.
Because he was underknown, he had a little slur. He didn't look like the Hollywood type guy. He was kind of muscular, he just didn't, he had his own look. He just looked a certain way. And he said, you know what, man? He goes, if everybody in the world wants this thing and they don't want me, that means it must be pretty damn good. So I got nothing to lose. He just said, I don't really have anything to lose. So he found the right people, which was John Avildsen. And John Avildsen was a great director. Matter of fact, the guys that directed my documentary did the movie about John Avildsen. If you get to see it, it's called King of the Underdogs. Same guys. John Avildsen was like Rocky. He was always the guy that did the project like Jack Lemmon, Save the Tiger, the movie Joe. So he did these kind of underdog type movies. And he was the perfect director at the perfect time. And my brother had the perfect thing. It was all perfect timing. So, okay, now that's why he held that, because they went Burt Reynolds, Ryan O'Neal. And listen, I like Burt and I like Ryan, but it would have been a different movie.
Yeah.
Very.
Been different. So then I'm living in Trenton, New Jersey in a dump, okay, $80 a month. Crap. And I got my band Valentine. We're gigging. We're like big shots in our neighborhood, in that area, because we're a really good band, right? So I get a call from my brother, and he said, hey, listen, I'm doing a movie about boxing. I go, that's nice. What the hell do I know? So he says, so he goes, yeah, I'm doing a movie about boxing. Yeah, I want you to write a song. I said, well, okay. I don't know really how to write a song about boxing. I don't know what the hell to write. You know what I'm saying? So he goes, yeah, you know what to do. So then he said, do like what you used to do when you were a kid, when you used to sing on the street corner, doing a cappella music. Because in the 60s, remember, this is a little before the Beatles, okay? So there were doo-wop groups and things. And I had a high voice like Frankie Lyman. And that's what we do. We sing on a street corner, and you had to be able to sing. If you couldn't sing and you're not playing an instrument, what good are you, right? So he goes, that's what I want you to recreate. So that's when I did Take You Back. And it was, and a lot of people ask me, how did I get in the movie? The way I got in the movie is because they had no money. And I was the only musician he knew. And it was cheap. I mean, they couldn't hire any big, huge acts. They had no money. They came out to Philadelphia by train. That's how low budget it is. Wow. He had Butkus on the train.
He had to sell Butkus, first of all.
Yeah, they say that. He says, yeah, for 5 minutes he did. Then all of a sudden, look at Jimmy Gambino and goes, yeah, take the dog back. So.
You're kind of an Easter egg, because you kind of play different characters in each Rocky movie. Like in 2, you're back as the street corner singing a different song. There are 2 kinds of love. And then you're back as almost a different character in 3, singing Pushin in the tough gym part.
Singing Pushin and doing another slow version of Take You Back. Like Rough Gym. Okay. So that's Rocky 3. And I actually like the low version. But I wrote Pushin' with Bill Conti. I mean, look, man, it's not one of my great songs, but it's kind of like in that disco vein, because it's like a party. They're training, So it's like Pushin', it's like, it's like a bad Earth, Wind and Fire kind of thing. Yeah. So I did that, and then I had nothing in Rocky 4, and then then I had the title song to Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And that song is one of my favorite songs, Peace in Our Life. I mean, it's got I wanted to use this. I said, you guys should use this song. I know they used the one with Lee Greenwood, which is a great song, but Peace in Our Life has that same vibe. It's a big song. And I wrote that for First Blood Part 2 at Rambo. And, you know, again, it died. Nothing really happened. The movie was huge. The song died. But now it's become like one of the most requested songs when I do concerts. It's funny.
It's incredible. And to think back to that, it did fit the tone perfectly, because the film with these overtones of real life atrocities of the government, you know, not bailing out our POWs. My dad was in Vietnam, Frank. This was always his favorite song. That moment at the end of Rambo when he gives that speech, and then the song comes on as Rambo walks away, meant so much to so many people, my dad included, a Vietnam vet who had friends never returned, but because our government reneged on war reparations. So that means so much to so many people. You see tribute videos of it all over YouTube with veterans embracing and over gravestones and things like that. I think that song lives on, if nothing more than just a fitting tribute.
Yeah, and that's because I got drafted in 1969. Kind of a funny, weird story. I was playing a gig, and I drove home. It must probably be 1:30 in the morning, okay? Well, you're living at home. You don't really get mail. There's nothing to get mail for. You don't pay for anything. You're living at home. You're a teenager, right? All of a sudden, I never forgot. I walk in, because I went to military school for a while, so I knew I was on the drill team. So I knew about, field stripping, M1 Grands and M1As and stuff like that. So, but I kind of grew out of that phase. I was a rock guy now, right? My hair was real long, man. I thought I was the coolest thing going. So I'd come in the house, and my mother and my little sister are sitting there with a Ouija board. What the hell? Ouija board. My sister's like, okay, if this is 1970, she's like 10, okay? And they're there at the Ouija board. Mara goes, "Oh, honey, you got mail." I go, "Mail? I never got mail." I look at it, I go, "Oh boy, here we go." Selective Service Act. I opened the thing up, they go, "Greetings, you are, going down for induction on such and such." So this was like November. So I went, was for like January of, matter of fact, I think I still have my draft card somewhere here. And I do have my draft card, actually. I save everything. I'm like nuts, right? So I said, okay. Now, my oldest brother, Tom, was in for 20 years. He went in 58 and got out in 78. So by 1970, when I went down for induction, you can ask your father, Tet Offensive was a nightmare. That's what kind of put the capper on, because even before Tet, where people go, "What are we doing here? Why are we here?" And so when you have soldiers questioning why they're there, the morale. So I said, well, I'm not going to burn my draft card. I'm not going to run. But at this point, nobody wanted to really go. By 1970, it was like when you see the movie Platoon.
Yeah,
that's what it was. A lot of racial strife, big drug use. I had a lot of friends that came back strung out on opiates and stuff like that. So I carried the draft card with me, and I didn't run, but it wasn't like I was running down to the draft board every week going, "Hey man, am I ready?" So I had this thing. So you had to have your draft card on you at all times, because driver's license then didn't have a picture. So if a cop pulled you over, this is true. If you're 18, able-bodied, and they just pulled you over, this is it. "Hi, how you doing? Let me see your driver's license and your draft card." Not your insurance card, not your title. Your driver's license, your draft card. If you didn't have it, "Oh, I don't have it," they cuff you and took you downtown because they think you're a draft dodger. So I had that thing glued in my back pocket next to my Trojans. No, I'm not kidding. In my wallet, which I never got to use. I took it out once and it dissolved. You had it so long. But that's how it was. You thought that was cool in high school. Hey, look at my wallet. You have that round circle. And so you never really get to use it. When you take it down, it's like dust. So anyway, so I had the draft card. And that was it. I was waiting. If I had to go, I went, but it was just kind of interesting. Like, you're playing rock gigs. This is the life. You're playing rock gigs in bars, but you also have a draft card in your pocket. In other words, this could be your last gig. They could call you up, and that was it. It was good for girls. You go, "Listen, honey, I might get called up tomorrow, so let's get busy."
That worked, I assume, back then.
Yeah, good way to get laid. Yeah, in the 70s. So, but I mean, but it was it was a different time than it is now.
Of course.
Everyone was listen, every cop, every fire, they were all World War II Korean vets, all of them. The priests, everyone was in World War II or Korea. So it's not like today. if you ever spit in the cop's face in those days, that'd be the last spit you ever do. Because these guys that were real combat veterans, and like your dad, they know you're not. You can push it so far, And these guys that have seen bloodshed and war, they're not going to take it from a guy wearing a man bun. Okay, so that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't think so. But I got to go back to Rocky here just for a second.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's some behind the scenes of you and Sly kind of in the ring for a montage scene of Rocky 3. I don't know if any of your scenes made it in there. I don't think so. But you and Mr. T, Clubber Lang.
That's in there. That's in the montage. It's short. Me fighting Clubber Lang. Yep. And there is some of that up on the internet, which is the longer version with my brother yelling, because Mr. T's coming after me. I'm popping him because I was a middleweight. He's like 220. I was like 165 pounds.
You held your own there for a little bit.
Yeah, but I was popping him all over the place. But I just didn't want him to grab me because, it was huge. So, and then I fight my brother in the movie. And if you see that montage where I'm in the corner and he hits me and knocks me out. So I get knocked out twice. So I said, basically, I was a total utility guy. I sang in the movie. Fought Mr. T, fought my brother. I was like a singing heavy bag. You know what I mean? That was kind of my life in that movie. And it was, you know what? I got to tell you, when I saw them making Rocky, there's something you could feel. It's almost like when you hear a record for the first time, the first 4 or 8 bars, you go, like when you hear like Tears for Fears, everyone wants to save the world. Right when you hear it, you said, this is Smash, man. You know what I mean? Ding, ding, ding. Everybody wants to, but when you hear that record, it's perfect. When you hear, there's just certain songs. Like when I was a kid, first time I heard Day Tripper, I go, whoa, wait a second, And so when I saw Rocky, when I saw the roughs, I said, there's something going on here. There's something really special. It's raw. And I think people were really craving raw at that point. They were kind of the pretty boys. I mean, I love Robert Redford. I mean, I love all those Paul Newman, but this was a different movie. This was kind of like Streetcar Named Desire or, something like that. So we did it. It came out. I got to tell you a quick story if I can about the premiere, which was really weird. Okay. I have a picture somewhere. It's a picture of my brother and I standing outside the movie theater the day Rocky's open. Now, remember, Rocky was only in 2 theaters, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. So it wasn't like, hey, man, 3,000 screens, okay? They thought it was going to do okay. They make their money back to show it in drive-ins, and that was it. That's what the original deal was. We'll get our money out of it and all this nonsense. So anyway, we're there for so we're there at the afternoon screening at the theater where my brother was an usher. 3 years before. He was the head usher at the Coronet Baronet Theater. So now you're coming back, and the picture, God darn it, I have it somewhere. But it has appearing today, Rocky. That's it. And there's a picture of he and I in front of the billboard wearing really bad polyester suits. We had no money. And bad hair, I must admit. And later on I said, do you realize this is the last anonymous photo of us? This was the day of the premiere. So we're sitting in the movie theater watching the the afternoon theater, people coming in, right? Now this is the exact same movie. This is not a re-edit because the movie's open, right? And all of a sudden I'm sitting with my brother and people are just starting to walk out. And I see his face going, yeah. People are starting to walk out, Just shows you how strange things are. That night, when it opened, you could hear cheers from within the theater outside on 3rd Avenue. Because the people went crazy. The movie never got a bad review. It got one bad review for some creep in New York Times. This guy was a real scumbag. Anyway, but he gave it a bad review. And this guy was a big critic. They said, you have to retract that. They said, now we look like assholes. I mean, everybody loves this movie, but you.
Well,
so he had to retract it. And from there, it just turned into probably one of the most loved movies ever made. And it was just very strange, but just go show you. how weird it is. Like Elvis was turned down by every record company. The Beatles, every record company. My brother couldn't get a job, had no money. His voice, the way he looked, and all. And then all of a sudden, this jewel comes out at that time, and the rest is history. And it changed everyone's life. I don't know if it changed mine for the better. I'm thankful for it because it did help me. But what happened, I got caught up in this thing because I was always, Frank Stallone, musician, not compared to anybody but myself, right? Then all of a sudden, it's like I became Frank Stallone. Then I became Rocky's brother. I didn't have a first name anymore. Hey, that's Rocky's brother. I go, well, I do have a name. But anyway, so that's kind of where that went. So all of a sudden, it was like, I think people thought I just picked up the guitar that afternoon, So there was a lot of struggle with that. Even though we were on the big screen, I was still living in the ghetto and all that stuff like that. So the rest was history.
Well, sort of sounds a little bit like your scene in Fred Claus, the Siblings Anonymous.
Oh, God. You know what?
I love it.
That thing. I got to tell you something. I was laughing so hard, like Stephen Baldwin. There's stuff they didn't keep there. He was really funny. He goes, hey, man. He almost got into a fist fight with Vince, like when he said he's Santa Claus's brother. And it was a cute movie. It just didn't do well. I don't know why, but it's really funny. That scene, people go, man, we just love that scene. I goes, and why didn't you make it longer? Why'd you cut it so much? I guess because they thought they could. And Vince was really good. Vince is a really good actor. And I like the movie. I think it's a cute Christmas movie. But that was it. Siblings Anonymous.
Yeah.
Well, Frank, as we kind of wind down here, man, and we're going to have to do a part 2 in January when the documentary comes out, man. That's for sure.
I would love to.
That.
Yeah.
I got to know because we're huge fans of old school pro wrestling. Of course, Hulk Hogan appeared in Rocky III, but you not only have you done boxing and film, you've done it on a show as well, and you did a professional wrestling show. Which show? What's harder, kind of to learn the ropes of the rigors of boxing or professional wrestling, which is a whole nother ball game when it comes to performance?
Man. I got to tell you something. Nasty Knobs and
those are brutal guys. Yeah.
And you know what? And I grew up watching Fabiani's Matt Time, Antonio Rocca in the old days. Like the Kentuckians, stuff like that. So. But the thing is, I was more boxing into wrestling, and because my neck, I couldn't take those slams, man. And it's amazing. If people think it's easy, go out there and try it. It's not, because these guys are really faster and tougher than you think. I mean, when we did Paradise Alley with Terry Funk,
yeah,
these guys are tough, man. They might look a little beefy, but they're very strong and they're very tough, and you could get hurt really bad. And I did. So that's why I was off the show, the second show.
Well, you saw what Rocky did, what Hulk did to Sly and Rocky when he first came in and clubbed him over the head and knocked him out.
I was there.
Yeah.
And I was broke, okay? So when the scene was when he picks him up and throws him in the stands, I said, oh, man, let him do it to me, because it was like a $5,000 stunt, and I was broke. And then all of a sudden the stuntmen are looking at me like this. And the guy goes, Frank, I'm just going to be serious with you. You want to do it? But you could lose an eye. I mean, he's throwing you into the stands. I mean, one of these chairs, anything. You're not a stunt man. You're a singer. So I didn't do it. So I go, yeah, I'll do it. I go, I don't think that's a good idea. But he did do it. Like, it's really scary when Hulk's 305 pounds. When he picks Sly up and he does the cruncher, if that was a mistake, it'd break your back right in half.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when he brings him down like this. And you know what? And that was Terry's big break. I mean, he was. And he was great in it. And you know what? And he's always been very thankful to Sly for that. And he's a good guy. Terry's a great guy. He's a really good guy.
Well, Frank,
even though he fired me off the show, he's still
right. I was going to say that was, called
me a jabroni or something like that.
You made it further than Screech, so that's all that matters. Frank, you are the man. We can't thank you enough. We got to do this again when the film comes out. Thanks again for all you've done for us. It's truly an honor, man, for sure.
Well, thank you guys, and let's stay in touch, and we'll revisit this after the new year.
Can't wait to do it. Stay safe and stay healthy in the meantime, and hope everything goes well, man. Tell everybody hello, and we'll catch up soon, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.